Hello everybody and welcome to this episode of East Ontario News. Today we are attending the nomination of Trevor Stewart for Ontario Liberal Party candidate for Glengarry-Prescott-Russell. Could you tell us a little bit about your history in politics?
Oh God, of course. So I first got involved in politics when I was about 15, 16. So I've got 10 years now in political life. I first started off on something that, again, the Ford government cut. It's the MSAC, so it's the Minister's Student Advisory Council. So this was 60 kids from all over the province of Ontario that were selected and that were advising the Minister of Education for a period of about 6 to 8 months. So at 15, a teacher, Monsieur Patrick Bergeron, at l'Escale, was like, "Hey, why don't you jump in and put your name in that?" So I did, and I got to see up close what education policy was like. I got to see up close what me as a student at the time was feeling. I got to talk to the Minister of Education, and that was really eye-opening for me. It was especially eye-opening because I was one of 7 francophones out of 60 kids, right? So we saw how important it is to maintain la francophonie and maintain that in education specifically for our next generations. So I first got involved with that and I got the bug. I got bit by the bug and it has been a constant uphill since. I led the protests in 2018 against the Ford government when he cut into the francophone services, lors du Jeudi Noir, which was another addition in political life. And then I ran for council in 2022. My oil pan under my car busted on my road, and I went, I can't have this. Like, I need to fix my road. So I decided to run for office, won there, and it's been a really eye-opening experience, being able to see how we're growing as a municipality. You know very well, Clarence-Rockland is growing very fast. But right now we're doing it without provincial support, right? We're at a critical point in our growth to make sure that we're able to grow properly, but also maintain kind of a small town feel. We're trying to do that, but we have the provincial government forcing down bills like Bill 21, I think, down our throats. I mean, this isn't how provincial government is supposed to work. They need to work in collaborations, and municipalities need a new deal to make sure they're able to deliver services for their residents.
My name is Stephen White, and I'm the member of Provincial Parliament for Orleans, and it's great to be here in the beautiful and wonderful riding of Glengarry-Prescott-Russell and to see so many old friends and new friends and see so much excitement for Ontario Liberals led by Bonnie Crombie and soon to be led here locally by our good friend Trevor Stewart. So I now call to order the Glengarry-Prescott-Russell Provincial Liberal Association Candidate Presentation and Nomination Meeting. Je suis heureux d'être ici aujourd'hui d'apporter les salutations de Bonnie Crombie, notre chef de la Parti libéral provincial ici en Ontario, et de la présidente de la parti Catherine McGarry et de le conseil exécutif du parti. Our recording secretary for the meeting today is Jean-Michel Tweed. Right over here, wonderful. Only persons who have been included in the approved nomination plan of the Glengarry-Prescott-Russell Liberal Association and executed all documents in accordance with the Ontario Liberal Party's Constitution and nomination rules and filed them with the Nomination Commissioner following the call of this meeting are eligible for nomination. There is one person eligible to be nominated. I now call upon the nominator, Mr. Don Boudrias, to nominate your Liberal candidate here in Glengarry-Prescott-Russell.
Monsieur le Président, Mr. Chairman, Monsieur le député fédéral, Messieurs, dames, les députés provinciaux de la circonscription. Pourquoi j'arrête pas de suite? Chers libéraux tous! Ça englobe tout le monde, je pense, ou sinon ceux qui aimeraient l'être. Mais vous allez faire partie, vous aussi, surtout avec le candidat extraordinaire que nous sommes en train de choisir aujourd'hui. Il y a 43 ans passés, un jour, il faisait beaucoup plus froid que ça, j'ai eu l'honneur et le privilège d'être choisi candidat libéral provincial et j'ai représenté la circonscription à Queen's Park avant, bien sûr, plus tard, de devenir votre député au niveau fédéral. And when I ran for municipal office and for provincial office, you know what I was doing? I was working for the federal government and I was a municipal councillor. And that worked out real well. Je pense que vous savez où je m'en vais avec la conversation, là. Ce que je suis en train de vous dire, bien sûr, c'est qu'à partir de l'expérience de notre candidat à travailler au niveau fédéral, de l'expérience de siéger lui-même au niveau municipal et transiger avec la province, il est déjà prêt d'être le député de l'élection Paris-Banque. Mais l'élection fera de lui notre député, comme elle a fait de moi votre député il y a déjà 43 ans. Et à chaque jour, Trevor, si vous vous sentez comme moi, après vous allez devenir un candidat libéral, vous allez vous dire quel honneur et quel privilège que c'est de faire partie, d'être membre, d'être candidat et d'avoir votre nom à côté du logo du Parti libéral de l'Ontario. C'est un grand honneur, vous savez. Regardez tous les grands qui ont servi. Et à partir d'aujourd'hui, Trevor, vous serez parmi ces gens-là. Vous serez le candidat libéral. So, ladies and gentlemen, you didn't come here to hear my speech. You came here to hear Trevor Stewart, your future member of the provincial parliament for Glengarry-Prescott-Russell. And ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor and privilege to place in nomination officially the name of Trevor Stewart to be the Liberal candidate and soon the MPP for this area. Messieurs, dames.
Thank you, Don. Do I have a seconder for Mr. Stewart? Our Member of Parliament, François Drouin. Thank you. Francis, excuse me. I've only known Frank for 20 years. I declare the nominations closed and declare that Trevor Stewart is duly nominated as your Ontario Liberal.
Thank you so much, everyone. Merci tout le monde. Vraiment, de la fin fond de mon cœur, je suis tellement honoré d'être ici, entouré de tellement de belles personnes, et de recevoir votre appui, là, ça veut dire le monde pour moi. Je vous remercie tout le monde ici d'être ici aujourd'hui, de votre présence ici. C'est un honneur d'être le candidat de notre parti dans la plus belle région de cette province, à Glengarry-Prescott-Russell. On est beau chez nous. Juste avant de commencer, j'aimerais juste prendre une petite minute pour vraiment remercier notre député fédéral, Francis Drouin. Francis a récemment annoncé qu'il n'était pas prêt pour se présenter aux prochaines élections fédérales. Et puis Frank, je veux vraiment te remercier. Tu as donné des années de service à notre communauté, tu as sacrifié tout pour notre communauté. Trop souvent, on n'entend pas le mot merci. Moi, je ne serais pas ici, ça ne serait pas pour toi. Thank you so much, Frank, for everything you've done. Merci. J'aimerais aussi souligner la présence, bien sûr, de notre ancien député provincial et fédéral, M. Boudrias. Un gros merci, M. Boudrias. un autre ancien député provincial, M. Jean-Marc Lalonde, un titan de la région. Puis bien sûr, deux députés actuels du Parti libéral de l'Ontario, Mme Lucille Collard, qui représente Ottawa-Vanier. Et Stephen Blais, le député provincial d'Orléans. Merci beaucoup, Steve. So folks, over the past few months, we've already hit the ground running. We've already hit hundreds of doors, spoken to hundreds of folks in our community. And I have to be honest with you, the stories that we've been hearing have been nothing short of horrifying. You know, folks, I met a man in Rockland who was on a 10-year wait list to go see a family doctor. In one of the richest countries in the world, in one of the richest provinces in that country, that isn't normal. And we have to stop accepting the failures of the Ford government as something that's normal. It's not normal that our kids won't be able to afford a home in their community. It's not normal that we're not able to get health care in our own community. I heard from a mom out in Drouin who's worried that her kids won't be able to get the attention that they deserve in the classroom, not because their teachers aren't up to the par, but because their teachers are overburdened. They're doing the absolute most with what little they have, and they are hearing nothing from this provincial government when they're asking for more resources. I met farmers out in Saint-Isidore worried about the 320 acres of farmland that we are losing a day in this province since the Ford government took office. 320 acres. It simply isn't acceptable. We have to stop accepting the failures and the complacencies of today for something that is normal. Mais ces histoires-là, les histoires de chez nous, c'est nos histoires. C'est l'histoire de gens de chez nous qui savent qu'on peut faire mieux, que le mieux est toujours possible. And that's why I'm so honored to be your candidate here. That's why I'm so honored to finally take the fight to Doug Ford and bring prosperity back in Glengarry-Prescott-Russell.
So to start today's interview, could you start by introducing yourself?
Yeah, my name's Trevor Stewart. So I'm a current city councillor in the city of Clarence-Rockland for Ward 7, which is Hammond and Cheney, and I'm the Ontario Liberal Party candidate for Glengarry-Prescott-Russell.
And why do you think you're the ideal candidate to represent Glengarry-Prescott-Russell?
Yeah, well, look, I think it's personal for me. Right, I've got a personal stake in this. I'm a young person, so I'm currently experiencing the housing crisis, right? It's tough to not even be able to afford a home in my own community. Young people have done everything that they were supposed to, right? Got good jobs, got good education, and yet our buying power is nowhere near what it was for our parents. We're nowhere near as better off as our parents, despite working just as hard, if not harder. So for me, it's personal. I see it. People are frustrated, and I understand, right? Prices are rising high. People can't get a family doctor, and if they have one, they're struggling to find an appointment. I mean, with the amount that we pay in taxes, how rich we are as a province and as a country, it isn't normal that we're facing these things. It isn't normal that folks have to wait 10 years for a family doctor. Those things aren't normal, and having experienced a lot of that, I think having that personal attachment to it gives me just a little bit more drive to make sure that we're going to be able to turn GPR red in the next provincial election.
J'ai beaucoup de gens à remercier aujourd'hui pour c'est la raison pourquoi je suis ici aujourd'hui vraiment. Ma famille, ma tante, mes oncles, mes cousins, je vous remercie énormément. Je vous ai achalé depuis longtemps, là, puis je vais continuer à vous achaler pour les prochaines quelques années. Un gros merci aussi à ma sœur. Je suis tête dure, puis t'es quand même ici, donc je te remercie énormément. À mes parents qui détestaient la politique, puis qui se demandent encore, je suis sûr, pourquoi leur jeune a fini là-dedans. Vous avez tout fait pour moi et ma sœur. Vous avez surmonté la pauvreté, vous avez surmonté la misère, puis vous avez tout donné, vous avez tout sacrifié. Je serai, ma sœur, on sera toujours en votre tête. Vous êtes exemplaires de ce qu'on est capable de faire dans cette province. Puis je vous remercie, je vous remercie, je vous remercie. To my friends, I am who I am because of you. You've taught me what it is to be kind. You've taught me what it is compassion, and I love you
forever for it, to my campaign team, Inessa, Kira, Lucas. We've given a lot of late nights, and I'm sure I will continue to give you more headaches in the campaign to come. So thank you so much for what you've done. And j'aimerais vraiment prendre un petit moment pour remercier Jean-Michel Tweed, qui est le président de l'Association provinciale de Glengarry-Prescott-Russell. On est ici aujourd'hui à cause de Jean-Michel. Il a tout fait là, dans les dernières quelques semaines et les mois avant pour qu'on soit ici aujourd'hui. Donc tout le monde, mettez vos mains ensemble pour Jean-Michel.
And could you give us an example of some changes you'd like to implement the region?
Yeah, for sure. So we've committed to cutting the small business tax rate, slashing it right in half, which I think is exemplary. I look at ODSP as well. It isn't a livable wage at all. We're looking at doubling ODSP, which I think hits home quite closely. And quite frankly, I got involved in politics because of La Francophonie. And so when Doug Ford cut into our Francophone university, when he cut into Francophone services, when he reduced the independence of the Commissaire des langues des affaires francophones, it's personal for me. Right, and I want to be able to reverse those cuts. Our leader, Bonnie Crombie, has committed to reversing those cuts. And I think when I look around the region and I see our farmers struggling to gain access to capital, and they're forcing to sell their farms to investment companies, this isn't normal, right? These folks are putting food on the table for us and our families, and we need to be able to support them. So that's absolutely something I want to attack, is look at how the government can assist farmers in access to capital and ensure that being a farmer is profitable again, right? Ensuring that there is a second generation there to be able to pick up the mantle once the folks who are here are too tired, a little bit too old to take care of it. I can't do this campaign without you. We've got a long road up ahead. Moi, j'ai du cœur au ventre, je suis prêt à le faire, mais j'ai besoin de votre aide pour le faire. So if you have the means for it, I'd ask you to go out to the front table once this is done. There are some donation forms there. There are QR codes for donations. By all means, whatever you can give, we would appreciate it. It will be useful for signs, for pizza for our volunteers so they're not starving at your front door, for calls. Every single dollar will be put to good use. And if you can't, if you don't necessarily have the means to give right now, because I know times are tough, any hour or minute you might have to knock on doors, to make calls, to put up signs, every single moment you have will be useful to defeating Doug Ford and to making sure that Glengarry-Prescott-Russell is red in the next provincial election. Bon, mes chers amis, moi je suis ici pour me battre pour vous. Pas pour Ford, pas pour Toronto, mais pour vous. De Cumberland à Hawkesbury, d'Alexandria jusqu'à Limoges. En tant que votre prochain député provincial de Glengarry-Prescott-Russell, je me battrai pour les gens de chez nous, jour après jour, parce que je crois qu'il est toujours possible de faire mieux. I know that the way things are cannot possibly be the best that we have to offer in this province. We need a local change, we need a generational change. A change that will get more for you and Glengarry-Prescott-Russell. I'm ready to be that change. Merci beaucoup.
And you mentioned in your speech there was lack of support for the teachers. What would you do then to offer that support?
Yeah, for sure. So one big thing is reevaluating class sizes. So I look at something like the rural education strategy. So this was a policy that was put in place and cut in 2018. As soon as the Ford government took power, they immediately cut into the rural education strategy. That's something that affects us, right? I was a substitute teacher for about 4 months during COVID. Yeah, trust me. So I know what it was like, right? I am a non-qualified substitute teacher. I was there 2 months virtual, 2 months in person. I saw what it was like. I saw the lack of resources. I saw just the immense job that teachers have on their hands. And they care for these kids. They're trying to give them the absolute best care and education that they possibly can, but they just can't. Class sizes are too big, resources are too small. We need to reverse the cuts that have been made to education. Since 2018, there is $1,500 less per student in the classroom in the entire province of Ontario. Those are huge cuts, and we need to reverse them as soon as we get in government to ensure that teachers have the resources to educate our kids properly.
And what are some of the measures that you're going to take to ensure you have the community support?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think something like this is absolutely exemplary, right? Yeah, and I think my big thing is door knocking. So when I ran for council, I ran against an incumbent, and we beat an incumbent, and we beat an incumbent by quite a large margin. I attributed that to door knocking and showing up. So when there were events, we were there, and we door knocked the whole area twice. Now there's 50,000 doors, I think, in Glengarry-Prescott-Russell. So I don't know if we'll have a chance to get to everyone twice, but the goal is absolutely to get to every door, to get our message across as far and as wide as possible, to hear the concerns from folks all the way out in Sainte-Anne-de-Prescott, all the way out in Cumberland, right? And everything in between, being able to be in those communities and hearing them and being accessible, right? I have my phone number on just about every sign for a reason, because I want people, if they've got an issue, they can give me a call. And as a representative, I think it is absolutely critical to be that accessible voice.
Those are all the questions I have for you today. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for being here. Merci.